You won't believe which real-life rescue in the 80s was watched by millions and became one of the first times America truly experienced reality TV. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't staged. It was raw, unfolding hour by hour, and the entire nation held its breath, hoping for a miracle. The 1980s weren't just neon lights and big hair. They were filled with moments, real, emotional, unforgettable moments that stopped time. From tragedies that rocked the nation to cultural events that brought the world together, these were the experiences that burned themselves into memory. In this video, we're counting down the moments from the 80s where you remember exactly where you were when it happened. Because some events don't fade, they stay with you forever. Number 10. Who shot JR? Grips the nation. It was the question that brought America to a standstill. Who shot J.R. Ewing? In the spring of 1980, the season finale of Dallas ended with a bang. Literally. J.R. Ewing, the oil tycoon everyone loved to hate, was shot by an unknown assailant. And then, silence. No answers, just an entire summer of waiting. From coast to coast, the cliffhanger sparked a frenzy. Office pools placed bets. Magazine covers featured wild theories. Even people who didn't watch the show suddenly had to know. It wasn't just a TV mystery, it was a national obsession. I remember being at a barbecue that summer where someone actually made a "Who Shot JR" cake. They cut into it and said, "We'll find out in November." And on November 21st, 1980, over 80 million Americans tuned in to finally get the answer. That night, the country held its collective breath as the truth was revealed, making it one of the most watched television episodes in U.S. history. It didn't matter if you were in high school or working the late shift, you remember where you were when JR finally got what was coming to him. Number 9. The Tylenol murders shock America. In September 1982, something terrifying happened, and it wasn't on a battlefield or a movie screen. It was in medicine cabinets, on store shelves, in everyday homes. Across the Chicago area, 7 people died suddenly, all with one thing in common. They had taken extra-strength Tylenol. What no one knew at first was that someone had tampered with the capsules, lacing them with cyanide. The country went into instant panic. Stores pulled bottles. Families tossed their medicine into the trash. News anchors warned viewers to check the seals. Suddenly, something as routine as taking a painkiller felt dangerous. And it wasn't just Chicago. Everyone felt it. I remember my mom dumping out our entire medicine cabinet while my dad checked every bottle for that little foil seal. There weren't any yet. They didn't exist. That came after. The Tylenol murders didn't just terrify the nation, they changed it. Within months, tamper-proof packaging became the new standard. Safety seals, child-proof caps, the whole works. But the fear lingered. You remember where you were when you first heard about it, because it made you look at something so ordinary and wonder if it might kill you. Number 8. The night thriller took over the world. On December 2nd, 1983, music didn't just play, it transformed. That night, Michael Jackson's Thriller premiered, and it wasn't just a music video, it was a cultural event. Directed like a short film, complete with a storyline, special effects, and a chilling voiceover from horror legend Vincent Price. Thriller redefined what a music video could be. It had drama, it had zombies, it had that dance. People threw watch parties. Kids begged to stay up late. MTV aired it around the clock. And for a few magical minutes, the world was united, doing the zombie walk in their living rooms. I remember our neighbor wheeled a TV into his garage and invited half the block over to watch it on VHS, like it was the Super Bowl. When the werewolf scene started, 2 kids ran home crying. We still talk about it. From that night forward, music videos weren't just filler between songs, they were events. And Thriller wasn't just a hit, it became the gold standard. You remember where you were the first time you saw it, because nothing looked, sounded, or danced like Thriller. Number 7. The royal wedding of the century. On July 29, 1981, the world paused for a real-life fairy tale. Prince Charles was marrying Lady Diana Spencer, and the whole planet wanted to watch. Over 750 million people tuned in across the globe. Even in the US, folks set alarm clocks, made tea, and gathered in their pajamas to witness the royal pageantry unfold live from London. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a moment of collective awe. Diana stepped out of that glass carriage wearing a gown with a 25-foot train, and just like that, she became a global icon. The bells of St. Paul's Cathedral rang out. The couple kissed on the balcony, and for one brief moment the world believed in fairy tales again. I remember my aunt waking the entire house at 3 a.m. She had the VCR ready, tissues nearby, and a box of scones she'd bought just for the occasion. No one dared speak when Diana walked down the aisle. It was sacred. The fashion, the spectacle. the sheer emotional weight of it all. If you saw it, you remember where you were, and chances are you can still picture the dress. Number 6. Baby Jessica trapped in the well. On October 14, 1987, America's heart stopped. 18-month-old Jessica McClure had fallen into an abandoned well in Midland, Texas, just 8 inches wide and over 20 feet deep. And for the next 58 hours, the entire nation held its breath. Rescue teams worked around the clock, carefully chipping through rock and earth. News crews set up camp. Reporters whispered updates. It wasn't just a story, it was the story. Long before 24-hour news cycles and social media, this was reality TV in real time, and it felt personal. People canceled plans. Families sat glued to their living room TVs. Schools paused to give updates. I remember my mom standing in front of the screen, clutching her coffee like a lifeline, whispering, "Come on, baby girl." When rescuers finally pulled Jessica out, alive, blinking, covered in dirt, the cheers echoed across the country. Grown men cried, strangers hugged, and for one rare moment, everyone felt connected by hope. You remember where you were when baby Jessica was saved, because for those 58 hours, it felt like she belonged to all of us. Number 5, the day the world rocked together, Live Aid. On July 13, 1985, music didn't just entertain, it united the world. Live Aid, a massive benefit concert to raise money for famine relief in Ethiopia, was broadcast live from London and Philadelphia to more than 1.5 billion people across 150 countries. It was one of the first truly global broadcasts, and it felt like everyone on Earth was watching. The lineup was legendary: Queen, U2, Elton John, David Bowie, Madonna, Phil Collins, who played both cities in one day, and so many more. Each act poured everything into their performance, not just for the crowd, but for the cause. People watched from couches, bars, basements, and backyard barbecues. I remember our neighbor rolled out a second TV onto his porch so no one missed a second. When Queen hit the stage and Freddie Mercury had 70,000 people clapping in perfect unison, it felt like history was happening live. It wasn't just a concert, it was a moment that showed what the world could do when it came together with a shared purpose. You remember where you were when Live Aid lit up the screen, because for once the whole world really was on the same channel. Number 4, the night the music died again, John Lennon's murder, December 8, 1980. The world lost more than just a musician, it lost a voice, a poet, a dreamer. John Lennon, former Beatle and peace icon, was shot and killed outside his New York apartment. Just like that, a generation's heartbeat skipped. The Beatles had already gone their separate ways, but Lennon still represented something bigger: hope, rebellion, love. His solo career, his activism, his words, they mattered. And then, in one violent moment, he was gone. Many people first heard the news during Monday Night Football, when Howard Cosell broke in with the unthinkable and unspeakable tragedy. John Lennon, outside of his apartment building, shot twice in the back, rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival. The world stopped. Radio stations began playing Beatles tracks non-stop. Candlelight vigils appeared overnight. I remember my older cousin calling every person in her address book, sobbing and repeating, "I just can't believe it." For millions, it felt like the final note of the 1960s finally faded into silence. You remember where you were when you heard Lennon was gone, because his music wasn't just background noise, it was a part of your soul. Number 3, The Wall Comes Down, Berlin, 1989. For decades, it stood as the ultimate symbol of division. The Berlin Wall, concrete proof of a world split in two. But on November 9, 1989, the unthinkable happened. The wall didn't just crack, it crumbled. It started with confusion, a press conference, a misunderstood policy, and suddenly, word spread that East Germans could cross the border freely. Within hours, thousands flooded the checkpoints. Guards, unsure what to do, opened the gates. The people came pouring through. And then the real moment, they started tearing it down, chipping away at the wall with hammers, fists, anything they could find. Strangers from both sides embraced. There were cheers, tears, fireworks. The Cold War's concrete heart was being broken by the people themselves. I remember watching the news that night, eyes wide, jaw dropped. One woman on the screen kissed the wall before swinging a hammer at it. My dad said, This is what history looks like." Footage of people dancing on the wall, laughing through tears, waving flags. It played over and over, and every time it gave you chills. You remember where you were when the Berlin Wall fell, because it was the first time in a long time that the world felt like it was finally coming together. Number 2, shots fired. The attempted assassination of President Reagan. March 30th, 1981. Just 69 days into his presidency, Ronald Reagan was walking out of the Washington Hilton when it happened. 6 shots rang out, and the country's heart skipped a beat. Cameras caught everything: chaos, screaming, Secret Service agents tackling the gunman. Press Secretary James Brady collapsed with a head wound. Reagan was shoved into the limo. He waved first, then winced. No one realized he'd been hit until they got to the hospital. At first, news reports were conflicting. He's fine. He's in surgery. It's serious. The country was glued to televisions and radios, hanging on every update. It felt eerily familiar to older Americans who remembered JFK, and terrifyingly fresh to younger ones. I remember one classmate's mom bursting into our classroom to take her son home, just in case something big was happening, she said. That's the kind of fear it stirred. Reagan survived. Barely. The bullet had missed his heart by inches. His recovery became a symbol of resilience. But the footage replayed for days burned the moment into everyone's mind. You remember where you were when Reagan was shot? Because for a moment time stood still and nobody knew what would happen next. Number 1. The Challenger disaster. A nation in shock. January 28, 1986. It was supposed to be a triumph, a proud day for NASA, for teachers, for students across the country. The Space Shuttle Challenger was carrying Krista McAuliffe, the first civilian teacher in space, and the excitement was electric. Millions tuned in live. Classrooms rolled in TV carts. Kids cheered as the shuttle lifted off from Cape Canaveral. And then, just 73 seconds later, it happened. A burst of flame, confusion, silence. Then the realization: the shuttle had exploded. News anchors stumbled for words. Teachers scrambled to turn off TVs, some too late. Parents rushed to schools. I remember sitting in my 4th grade class, staring at the screen in silence, trying to understand what we had just seen. Krista McAuliffe had invited the world to dream with her. And in that moment, those dreams scattered into smoke. The footage replayed for days. The image of the split contrails in the sky became a symbol of hope lost, of promises cut short, of the fragility of even our greatest achievements. You remember where you were when the Challenger exploded, because it was the moment a hopeful dream turned into a national heartbreak right before our eyes. Some moments are bigger than headlines. They become a part of who we are. These events didn't just happen in the 1980s. They happened to us. They shaped our memories, our conversations, and the way we saw the world. Now we want to hear from you. Where were you when these moments took place? Which one stands out the most in your memory? Was there a moment that brought you to tears, or one you wish you could relive just one more time? Drop your stories in the comments, because this isn't just history, it's your history.